my people, how are you doing? I hope you're having a damn good day. Welcome back to the channel, and today we'll be trying to replicate Borussia Dortmund's 4-2-3-1 system, of course the Edin Terzic system, his tactics and everything like that. So if you could do me the massive favor of smashing the like button, if you are new to the channel, subscribe, that would be fan-damn-tastic, and let's hop on into this. So just having a look at the team, we've got Sebastian Haller, Marco Reus, Adeyemi, Brandt, Emre Can, Sabitzer, who has replaced the likes of Jude Bellingham in the team. We've got Ben Sabani, who I think is a fantastic left back. Of course, he is also a new signing, signed for free from Borussia Mönchengladbach, if I'm not mistaken. We've got Schlotterbeck, Sula, Wolf, and then Kubel. And then on the bench as a substitutes, we've got Mokoko, Marlon, Nemecha, Oshan, Maya, Hummels, and Ryerson. And then in the reserves, we've got some more really good young talented players in Reina, Monier, who's quite long in the tooth, as well as Modeste. We've got Mori, of course, and then a few others that are quite talented and will probably go for huge amounts of money in the future. So yes, that is the team right there. Just looking at the formation really fast, it is a 4-2-3-1, but as you'll see, the left-sided midfielder is a central midfielder, while the right-sided is a CDM. Obviously, one being Chan, one being Sabitzer. It is going to change the instructions a tad bit, but it does create a nice box-to-box role for Marcel Sabitzer / Jude Bellingham to play in. So yes, that is the formation right there. Looking at the tactics, of course, it is set to press after loss of possession. Again, a fairly young team, some nice young players, Adeyemi being one of them. They've got loads of stamina and energy just to work with and make sure that it creates an unease in the opposition. So when Borussia Dortmund do lose the ball, they can be proactive and reactive and try and win it back as fast as possible. As for the width that is set to 30, you kind of want the likes of Adeyemi and Brandt to be as narrow as possible, making it very hard for the opposition to pass the ball directly down the middle of the field and work the ball to their striker, of course, their danger man. So you want to try and make that as hard as possible. You've got two strong fullbacks in the likes of Wolf and Ben Sabani. Oh god, I cannot pronounce that man's name. I do apologize if I am butchering his name. He is a fantastic player though, but they will be your wide defenders, making sure that the wingers don't get their way with the team going forward, or going backwards defensively, but the opposition going forward, they're not going to get their way with it. Now, as for the depth, it is set to 75, as you can see right here. You can play it slightly higher. It is a very realistic approach that you would be using, but I think for FIFA, in terms of high lines and stuff, 75 is a very, very realistic approach, but you will get caught out if you play an incredibly high line. And even in real life, Borussia Dortmund got caught out multiple times last season with their incredibly high line, because I've seen some people, they use like 90 or even 100 depth on the field, and it's literally just one simple ball over the top, a fast-paced player gets in, scores a goal, and then you're ripping your hair out. So just for tactical reasons and just being slightly more pragmatic, I need to say pragmatic, but being slightly more pragmatic, just go with the 75. It still produces a nice high line for you. It still produces the way you want to play, but it also has an insurance policy in it that you're not just going to get bent over every time the opposition spring a counter-attack on you. Now, as for the offensive play, it is set to slow build-up. Of course, Borussia Dortmund like to play out from the back, passing it through the final thirds, or the thirds of the field, and just having a nice control over the game, and that's what slow build-up can do for this team going forward. But speaking of going forward, chance creation, this team has a nice fluidity about it, with Adeyemi sometimes playing too far on the right, with Brandt switching with him, with Haller dropping deep, with Royce overlapping from time to time. So what this does is it creates a nice fluidity with forward runs being on, and it just means that there are lots of bodies in the box making deep runs into the box for crosses and so on. So it does replicate a very nice system going forward. And then as for the width, of course, you have it set to 30. You want your two wingers, essentially, in Adeyemi, who is more or less like a secondary forward, secondary striker in this situation, and Brandt is more or less like a right wide attacking midfielder. So you want them to stay as narrow as possible, and then your fullbacks being your widest players. So that's how you can replicate it with this. So yeah. As for plays in the box, Borussia Dortmund love to pile on plays into the box to try and create as best a chance as possible to score, and they do that you can do that by putting it on 8, and that gets a good amount of players into the box waiting for crosses. As for corners and free kicks though, it is set to 4 as per always. Okay, as for the instructions, starting off with the goalkeeper, Kubel is set to become a sweeper keeper and come for crosses, commanding his area, of course, making sure he's not beaten in the air, and he's quite tall as it is, so I don't think he will be. And of course, like I said earlier, Borussia Dortmund, their base style of play is to play out from the back, and Kubel is very instrumental in that, of course, especially with the high line. You do need a sweeper keeper to be ready to run off of his line, claim the balls, and be calm under pressure, and I think Kubel is a fairly good player at doing so. As for your two centre-backs, they are set with their base set of instructions, both Sula and Schlotterbeck. Then as for Wolf and Ben Sabani, they are both set to the same instructions, as well as being more or less bombing on fullbacks. They are set to join the attack and overlap, like I say. The front three or the front four are going to be very narrow, going to be very fluid, interchanging positions from time to time. I mean, there were times where Hilaire was playing as the 10, with Royce playing as the left wing, and Brandt playing as the striker, with Adeyemi playing as the right wing. So it was very fluid and very nice, to be honest. But both of them are set to join the attack and overlap and then stick to position. As you can see here for Ben Sabani as well, those are his instructions. Now, as for your two midfielders, your pivots, we'll start off with the box-to-box roles, Marcel Sabitzer, or it could be Jude Bellingham, depending on if you've updated your team or not. But he is set to get forward, like I say. You want him to be that box-to-box character. He's going to get into the box as well. Normal interceptions are going to be on. Free roam, so you just free him up a little bit more. He doesn't have to have the defensive structure and shackles on him, and he can more or less express himself going forward. And I must say, Marcel Sabitzer at Manchester United last season was fantastic. It's a pity he had so many injuries, but if he didn't, I would have wanted Manchester United to sign him, because when he did play, he was absolutely fantastic for us. And it's a pity with the injuries that he was sidelined for quite a lot of that 6-month period. So yes, these are his instructions. As for Emre Can, he is set to cut passing lanes, stay back while attacking, cover the wing, of course, so he will cover for Wolf when Wolf bombs on forward, and then stick to position. So he's not going to be your deep lying playmaker or your destroyer. He's just going to be the guy that slots into the midfield, makes sure that he does a tidy job, and he is fairly good at doing so. He can pick up the ball and spray an odd 40-yard pass every now and then, but that's not going to be his role going forward. Now, as for Marco Reus, his role has more or less been simplified the older he's gotten. Of course, he's also struggled with quite a bit of injury in his career, but it's a very simple role for him, and I quite like it. He's no longer a pacey, winger. He's now a number 10 that, does a solid job, and that's what these instructions reflect, if I'm being very honest with you. He is set to come back on defense, so he'll drop into the midfield. He'll help Sabitzer and Chan build out from the back, like I mentioned earlier. He will help just add an extra body into the midfield, because most battles are won and lost in the midfield. So adding another player in there doesn't hurt at all. He is also set to get into the box, stick to his position, so he's not going to be drifting wide as much as what he used to, and he's not going to have a free role. He's just going to, be in between the opposition's midfield and their defense. That is going to be his role going forward. And then, of course, normal interceptions. He doesn't have the best stamina. Now, we'll start off with the right-hand side. Julian Brandt is set to come back on defense, cut inside, come short, and get into the box. Now, we have these two sets of instructions on because you want him to stay quite narrow to Marco Reus. So when Royce does drop in, Brandt can slot in quite nicely, and then Royce can more or less function maybe on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, depending on what Adeyemi is doing as well. And that's why I say the fluidity of the front four is fantastic, and it works so well for FIFA 23. So Brandt is also kind of going to be like a number 10 in this team. As for Karim Adeyemi, we were just talking about him. He is set to stay forward, cut inside, get in behind. He's got loads of pace to burn and get into the box. Now, I said earlier he's more or less like a secondary striker in this team, a wide forward, some might say. He is left-footed, of course. So him staying forward defensively more or less creates like a 4-4-2, where him and Hilaire are left up top, with Hilaire sometimes dropping slightly deeper, and Adeyemi being the outlet ball. But it works really, really well, and I really do appreciate how it works in FIFA. I can't tell you the exact mechanics, but it does work very, very well with him being the inside forward. Then as for Hilaire, we were just speaking about him, the final player in the team. He is set to stay central, and then he has also got a load of really good attributes. He's really good with his back to goal, passing it on little layoffs, little around the corner passes, but he's also quite pacey as well, which is why I kind of didn't want him to, have one specific role, and then it kind of cuts out the rest of his game. So he is set to a mixed attack, interception set to normal, and then he is the focal point of your attack. So he is set to stay forward as well, which is quite nice. So, that is the Edin Terzic 4-2-3-1 Borussia Dortmund set of tactics. If you have enjoyed this video, smash the like button down below. It would mean the most to me. And of course, guys, until the next time, I hope you have a damn great day. I'm out.